Well, here we go. It's my first episode regarding boxing and everything that's happened. I guess this week is this whole Zuffa boxing, the Dana White whole situation. All I'm going to say is this. Dana White has built up a $12 billion company, I believe is its worth. Eddie Hearn's worth maybe 1/12 of that. His father started his company in 1974. So before we start talking about these guys, Oscar and Eddie Hearn, his worth would be about $250 million less had he not had Anthony Joshua. So he's basically made his money on the back of Anthony Joshua. Also, I would like to say that I wish Dana White, success, of course. I want boxing to be better. I think there is some confusion out there regarding, Zuffa belt, and there's TKO and Zuffa and ring. It's just really confusing. And he just signed Opataya, and you saw Noel Mikhailian. We saw the face-off. What's going to happen if Zuffa Boxing signed Opataya, and then Opataya that fights a guy for what belt are they going to fight? The WBC and the IBF? Zuffa, ring. It's just very confusing. I think if Dana really wants to be successful, I think he's to keep Zuffa. You can be the Zuffa champion, and maybe the ring belt is their belt, because now you have ring and then you have Zuffa, and these guys are tied in. And what's going to happen is, let's say a kid like Noel, who's with the WBC. Let's just say that the WBC belt's up and the IBF belt is up. And now you have ring, Zuffa. It's just really confusing. Instead of making it easier, it's making it more confusing. And what I'm afraid is going to happen is Zuffa Boxing now has signed Opataya, who's invested a lot of money. And the same thing goes with Don. Don has Noel. How's that going to work where Zuffa is not going to want Noel to win unless they sign him? So now what happens? The whole thing is just very convoluted, in my opinion. I think, at least for now, that Dana White needs to work with the other organizations, maybe not all of them, but he should certainly work with the WBC, which, in my opinion, I've had a lot to say about them in the past, but I think they're still the best out of all of them. I think they're as good as it gets. And speaking of Mauricio and the WBC, I gave a lot of shit to him, and he's a friend of mine. We go back a long way. I like him personally. I think he means well. I think he just has a lot of people on top of him, and Don being one of them, taking advantage of the friendship he had with his father to really push him to do things I don't think he really wants to do. I give him credit for giving Noel the opportunity for the rematch. It was the right thing to do. He did the right thing. And as we saw in the second fight, Noel won fair and square 9 out of the 12 rounds, which I thought he won the first fight. If I said anything that upset Mauricio, it was in the heat of the moment and passion, because I believe that what happened is wrong. I don't think he wanted to do it. He did the right thing in the end. And I think he's out there fighting for the WBC. They've been around for 60-something years. When he's wrong, he's wrong. When he's right, he's right. In this situation, he makes some very good points. Obviously, he's fighting for his organization, and then Dana White has the UFC into a multi-billion-dollar company. And with everything going on, to do the best thing for boxing is for the organizations to do the right thing for the fighters. Sometimes it might cost you some money. Sometimes you'll piss off promoters. But overall, when you look at the UFC, you know exactly what you're going to make with them. Conor McGregor became a billionaire through the UFC. So under Zuffa Boxing, are they going to make the kind of money that Floyd or Canelo, Tyson Fury, or Anthony? No, maybe not. But for the whole of boxing, overall, for the boxers, they know walking into a fight they're going to make $10,000 for showing up, $10,000 if they win. You have to take that into account. Overall, for the sport of boxing, I think Zuffa is going to be good. But Dana White and Zuffa need to straighten out how this is going to work. I think you could be the Zuffa champion of the organization. I think it'd be smart for them to do the 135, 147, 160, 175, 200, and 225, 230. I would do the heavyweight, super heavyweight versus the weights done in the other divisions. I would cut out the in-between divisions and mimic what the UFC's done. I think that would be really good for the sport. And for Zuffa, be a little bit different. In my humble opinion, I've been around for a long time in boxing, and I have a pulse on what's going on. I think there should be one champion in each division. I think in the beginning, maybe he should work with the other governing organizations and see if they can work together. And a perfect example is they signed Opataya. So if they want to unify it, they're going to have to deal temporarily with other promoters in the governing organizations, because you're not just going to go out there in a year and get all the best fighters. So you get a few of them, and there's some confusion with Turkey and TKO and Zuffa, TKO, and Ring Magazine. It's a bit confusing, and I think he needs to straighten that out. Maybe he should get a boxing guy who's fair. I think he could develop a commission like the court system, where if you don't like the decision, you can go to a judge panel of 3 to 5. You go once a month. People have problems with decisions. And then if they don't like that decision, then you go to a Supreme Court kind of deal where everything's on the up and up. I think that there's a long way to go to figure these things and navigate the situation. People talk about Dana White. I got to tell you, the biggest pay-per-view in boxing was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson and Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. That's what people were viewing. If you want to be your boxing fan, your boxing guy, Paulie Malignaggi, come on, Paulie. You're fighting bare-knuckle boxing and you're out there criticizing Dana White, who's a multi-billionaire. You look like a fool. Eddie Hearn and Oscar. Come on, guys. Oscar, you were caught wearing fishnet stockings on cocaine. I don't think you have room to talk about Dana White. You've lost Canelo. You have problems with Ryan Garcia. I don't think you guys have room to talk. Mauricio's been a gentleman about this. I think he's done a great job conveying his point. And obviously, he's going to fight for his organization that's been around for 60-something years. I do have his back on that. Dana White is a great promoter, maybe one of the greatest promoters in history for what he's done with the UFC. And I hope he can do a good job with boxing and figure out a way to make this happen. That's my episode 1 take on this whole situation, and I hope you listen.